we discuss the histories and events that shaped Native American history, tribes, and culture. In this video, we set the record straight on two defining moments in the struggle for Native sovereignty: the Battle of Little Bighorn and the Massacre at Wounded Knee. These battles, while separated by over a decade, represent the beginning and end of an era marked by Native American resistance against the encroachment of settlers and the U.S. government. What really happened that fateful day in June 1876? Was it Custer's foolhardy ambition or the Sioux and Cheyenne warriors' incredible resilience that sealed his fate? Join us as we explore the vivid eyewitness accounts that paint a powerful picture of bravery, chaos, and bloodshed. These first-hand testimonies will bring you closer to the truth of what unfolded on that windswept Montana plain, where warriors defended their way of life against overwhelming odds. Prepare yourself, because the truth is more gripping than the legend. Rising tensions in the 1870s created the perfect storm for the infamous Battle of Little Bighorn. The Sioux and Cheyenne were furious over Americans trespassing into their sacred Black Hills, a direct violation of the Fort Laramie treaties. These lands were not just geography, they were home, filled with meaning, history, and spirituality. But the discovery of gold changed everything. Sitting Bull, a revered Lakota Sioux holy man, and Crazy Horse, the fierce Oglala Lakota war chief, led their people in defiance. These leaders resisted the U.S. government's push to confine them to reservations. They fought for their autonomy, their culture, and their survival. In November of 1875, President Ulysses S. Grant and his administration issued an ultimatum: all Sioux must report to the reservations by January 31, 1876, or be labeled hostile. Sitting Bull refused, famously stating, "I have no land to sell. We don't want any white men here." That act of defiance echoed through the hills and valleys of the Great Plains, leading to one of the most famous battles in American history, the Battle of Little Bighorn. On June 25, 1876, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer, driven by personal ambition, sought a swift victory. What he didn't know was that nearly 3,000 Sioux and Cheyenne warriors awaited him. As Custer's 7th Cavalry charged into what they believed to be a small encampment, they were overwhelmed. Within hours, Custer and 262 of his men were dead. This battle, also known to the Native Americans as the Battle of the Greasy Grass, was a stunning Native victory. But it was short-lived. The U.S. government responded swiftly, sending more troops to crush the resistance. The mighty alliance of Sioux and Cheyenne would splinter, and by 1881, even the defiant Sitting Bull would surrender. The victory at Little Bighorn was bittersweet, for it marked not the survival of Native sovereignty, but the beginning of its final destruction. In the years that followed, Native tribes were forced to submit, one by one, to the overwhelming power of the U.S. military and government. The proud Oglala, Blackfoot, and Nez Perce each saw their lands stripped and their cultures pressured into assimilation. By 1889, a spiritual revival began to spread across the plains, the ghost dance. Prophets, like Wovoka, preached a vision of hope and renewal. They believed that through the dance, the spirits of their ancestors would return, the buffalo would roam again, and the invaders would vanish. For the Lakota Sioux, the ghost dance was a desperate prayer for survival. But to the U.S. government, the ghost dance was a threat, a potential spark for renewed rebellion. In December of 1890, tensions escalated when Sitting Bull, now on a reservation, was killed during an arrest attempt. His death sent shockwaves through the Lakota camps, and many fled in fear of further violence. On December 29, 1890, the U.S. 7th Cavalry intercepted a band of 350 Lakota under Chief Spotted Elk, also known as Bigfoot. The Lakota were seeking refuge at the Pine Ridge Agency, but they were escorted to Wounded Knee Creek, where tragedy awaited. As soldiers moved to disarm the Lakota, tensions flared. A shot rang out, no one knows exactly from where, and chaos erupted. U.S. soldiers, armed with heavy weaponry, fired indiscriminately into the camp. When the guns fell silent, over 150 Lakota men, women, and children lay dead. Some estimates place the death toll as high as 300. The Wounded Knee Massacre marked the end of armed Native resistance on the plains. The hopes of the ghost dance had been shattered, and the dream of a native revival ended in blood. This massacre stands as a tragic symbol of the US government's brutal repression of native people, a repression fueled by fear, misunderstanding, and greed. The Battle of Little Bighorn and the massacre at Wounded Knee are two sides of the same coin. One was a defiant stand for freedom and sovereignty, the other a final, heartbreaking loss. Together, they tell the story of a proud people fighting for their land, their way of life, and their future. A fight that, despite its tragedies, will never be forgotten. Today, native cultures and traditions live on, despite the injustices of the past. The stories of these battles remind us of the strength, resilience, and courage of Native American tribes. They fought not just for survival, but for the right to exist as sovereign people. Thank you for watching EyeRich History, where we honor the truth of Native American history. If you found this video enlightening, please support our channel by subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and sharing this video with others.